to Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have the amazing comedian Scott Seiss. You've seen him on the internet, TikTok, and he's got a new book coming out that's called The Customer's Always Wrong. Make sure you pre-order it on Amazon. Follow him if you don't already. You probably do. Also follow me. Check out my website, paulfcomedy, for upcoming dates. On Instagram, you can see all the information about my upcoming shows. And if you're listening to this, go over to the YouTube channel. You can watch it. We did have some technical difficulties. We were down one camera, and at the end, we actually ran out of batteries. But it's worth it to watch. And always check out our sponsors. Hey, gang. As some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome.
I'm trying to think of ways to get you canceled.
That's what I want to hear before a podcast begins. I'm trying to figure out ways to get you canceled.
How could I take you down? And
well, it's too late for me to get out of here.
Followers.
Yeah. I've already clocked the exits.
Are we recording? Yeah, fuck it. That'll be it. All right. I wanted to say something. Our next guest is making a special cameo for us. You might notice that it's not late, which we're making an exception for this very amazing person. A good friend of mine was nice enough to let me record my special all weekend in Philadelphia while he was headlining. And I didn't know anything about him. Couldn't have been nicer, surprisingly, and couldn't have been funnier. The amazing Scott Seiss, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing the podcast, Scott.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I love the idea of why are you awake at 1 p.m.?
Well, you're not supposed to tell them.
I'm not psychotic.
This is lighting. This isn't natural lighting. It's 1 a.m.
We're on a set.
Well, it's funny because last night we were up late at a diner, and I was like, oh, this would have been a great time to do the podcast.
Yes.
Like we could have just finished. I was thinking about hitting up Justin, but I'm sure he was asleep. But yeah, I was like, anytime we were talking, I'm like, wait, we could talk about this on the podcast. Don't talk about it. But it was hard to
We were just silently eating omelets last night.
No more talking.
Each other. Yeah, don't ruin this. You're ruining all the good stuff.
Scott, you have been a force. I've every time I've worked with you or taken a picture with you, and it's been spotted. Not only have my niece and nephew been impressed with me, but now just posting that we did this show, your fan base is all over.
Thanks, man.
It's not like a targeted demographic, is it?
No, I always say it's just anyone who has ever hated their job. Is anyone who's ever had a bad day at work. That's who I vibe with, and I think that's pretty much everyone. And at my shows, it's the age range it can be huge. It's people from TikTok, but then it can also be a table full of just elderly women who work at Joanne Fabrics or whatever, and they're like talk about it. We're ready to get into this shit. Yeah, it's such a and
I we worked together last night at the Den, and I always look in the audience before I go on to be like, what jokes should I do? And I was like, there's no rhyme or reason to the audience. It's like a normal comedy club show. Usually when you do a show, I work with a certain comedian who's Italian, the crowd's 70% Italian. Or if I do a show with a Middle Eastern comic, the crowd's all Middle Eastern or whatever.
Yeah.
You didn't have any of that. You had all kinds of races, all different colors, all different ages. It was I'm I'm just going to fucking do what I want. And they were such a good crowd. They were smarter.
Yeah, they're game for anything. I mean, I love my crowds. But thank you for saying that. First of all, I'm proud of that. But the reason that I think my crowds are so good, I'm so lucky, is that they all come through the customer service videos, and they come knowing they want to be good customers.
Yeah,
they're from customer service. They want to be nice to the staff. They want to be nice to the comedians. They don't want to make a bad time for people in the service industry, you know, which is like what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, except last night. We'll talk about that later.
They were not. They were good rowdy. They were good
yeah,
rowdy.
It was a good rowdy. You're right. How did it? Let's go back. You've been doing comedy for 11 years now, right?
Yeah, this is gonna be my 11th year.
And before you, what year did your first TikTok go viral?
It was 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in the
I
pandemic.
believe, yeah.
And before that, you were just doing feature spots and
Not even feature. I mean, I was hosting at Magoobies. That's my home club in Maryland.
Baltimore.
Yes, Magoobies, the best club name of all time.
Yeah.
I was like a host there occasionally. I was doing. I had just moved up to Jersey, and I was trying to like break into the New York scene.
Yeah.
I moved up there in like 2019, and then COVID hit. Stopped doing stand up. And that's kind of when I like pivoted to TikTok.
Yeah. It's weird that you picked Jersey because your style of comedy is not really Jersey, is it?
No. I realized that when I got there. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. It was big, boisterous, like Italian, man.
Yeah. And I've there's a couple comedian friends of mine who do that a lot, and they are like that.
Yeah.
And anytime I see that they're there, and they're like, I tour with Brett Ernst, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to go there because I feel like they're not going to like me.
Yeah. It was an adjustment, but I was working in the city, so I was trying to do like open mics in New York and do sketch in New York City.
Right.
But I did do a couple Jersey rooms. That was like, it felt like I was like stepping back through time. Like it felt like I was doing comedy in like the 30s or something. Just like, the back rooms, like just like big people smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Like, you got it, kid. Like it really is like stuck in time in Jersey a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard that, and then a lot of comedians talk about it. But everyone that's done shows at like the clubs there say they're amazing.
Yeah,
comedy clubs.
they're all great Jersey comics.
So let's go. So 2021, you start pivoting, and were you doing the employee
So
stuff?
I never did any like customer service jokes in my act before.
Okay.
I had like stuff written out that I was going to try. Never did it on stage. And then kind of like found this great sound from that we were already talking about before we started.
Dun, dun.
Yes, dun dun, which Sony owns. Sony owns it. I don't own it. It's from the Bad Girls Club, the reality show.
Okay.
But I found that sound. No one was using it for like work related stuff that I saw. And so I was like, okay, I have an idea for this. I tried some stuff on TikTok before. It didn't work. And just made one video. And then it was like overnight, that one got like, I think it was like 1.3 million views like the next day.
Wow.
And that was the first time I'd ever had something like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. I'm making like a shit ton of more of these. I'm hammering these because I wanted people to know that like, they could come to me for that kind of stuff. And people were like making requests of like, do like, like the sale ended last week, do expired coupons, like all this kind of stuff. And so I was just doing requests, and then it was growing on TikTok like crazy. And then someone who wasn't me took them all and put them on Twitter. And that's when, this is like Twitter at the time, obviously, but like that's when it really exploded.
Really? From Twitter? Okay.
And it was like Elizabeth Banks saw it, and like, like LeBron James retweeted it, and like all these like crazy, like big names. And that's like when they like asked me to audition for Cocaine Bear, and I started headlining like that. It just took off from there.
Overnight, pretty much.
Overnight from this like meme account that has since been deleted for like stealing people's content. And I was
the Twitter one. Yeah.
Yes, the Twitter one was like, I don't think it's even exists anymore. But that was like the one instance where I was like, I'm glad someone stole my content. I'm really glad.
Well, if it's spread, I mean, in your situation, it's not like a joke where they're writing it out. It's you, so they see you.
Yes,
they
it's
see
my
that
face.
It's your face.
Yes,
so.
it's my big face, and
Right.
it was like you can't deny.
And everything good? Oh, cool.
All good.
That's all right. I can edit that section
Cool.
out, or I'll leave it in. I don't give a fuck. That's
it
how we
in.
roll.
It's a little peek behind the curtain.
It was COVID time, so you could bang out all those pretty quickly, right? You were just using your phone, or what were you using?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. I was working from home at the time, so I was just like, not doing any work. Yeah, I was just recording TikTok.
Shout out to Home Depot. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where it was.
I was working for the PBS station in New York. Actually,
okay.
Yeah. I was doing social media for PBS.
Shout out to Mr. Rogers, right on your right shoulder.
Shout out to Mr. Rogers. But yeah, I was just making TikToks I was doing like maybe like 1 or 2 a week. I was really pumping them out like in the first couple of months when it was really exploding. and then I kind of scaled back. But yeah, it was just taking off like crazy. I remember just being alone in my apartment, just like vibrating from how much,
How crazy it was.
How crazy it was,
I
yeah.
can only imagine.
Yeah.
I get, that's how I feel when I have 10,000 views on something. I'm like, all right, I'm back. But so did you have those jobs? Did you really have those jobs? At
So
IKEA and stuff like that?
Yeah, I worked at the IKEA call center for about like 3 years.
Right. You talk about it on stage where they had to issue a warning, or not a warning, but
yes. So basically, like my friends who had still worked there at the time when they were seeing everything go viral, and I had left like the year before, they sent me. They forwarded, I won't say the name, but they forwarded me the internal email that was going around IKEA about me because they were worried that people were going to start calling like the customer service line to see if like I was there, or to see if like people could talk to me or something. So they had like a statement that the company made a statement that was like, Scott Seiss does not work for us, and he does not represent the feelings of our employees.
And how did that make you feel? Did you feel rejected, or were you like, I made it?
I love that someone like a higher up at IKEA had to like approve something. Like I came across their desk and they were like, what is this asshole doing? Like we're the positivity brand.
Do you think that your videos has changed anything in the culture of employees? Do you think that they show these at like how to be a better manager or thing like that?
What not to do?
Yeah. Like I mean, like I've acted in those, like they've those like industrial jobs that you get sometimes as an actor where you're like, they're like, all right, these are things how not to act at work. And then they show you like grabbing a girl's ass. Like, do you think they do?
I don't think so. The thing that I get sometimes at my shows, people will say like it'll sometimes be a whole staff from a store will come out to a show of mine. I've had many people come up to me afterwards and say like, we like to play your videos at like our morning like meeting before we go out onto the floor, just to
motivate you.
Yeah, motivate us or let off some steam or whatever it is. So I don't know if it's like if they're thinking this is what not to do, or this is like, just remember to keep these thoughts in your head. Don't say these to anyone out loud.
Don't say it out loud, but we know we all are on the same page.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I would think that would be like a good way to. If I was like a cool employer, I would be like, let's use these as like training tools to be like, all right, we don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are like real experiences, which are probably why they are so funny because people can relate. Did you growing up? You grew up in Baltimore?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Dundalk in Baltimore County.
What's the population there?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's fairly small, but it's like the known thing about Dundalk is like it's where like the waste treatment plant is for Baltimore County. So it's like the shit plant.
Okay.
So the whole like the exit off the highway smells like shit. Everyone's
really?
like, roll up your windows when you go through Dundalk, but I love it. I'm like, smells like home.
In bathrooms at like ball games or like comedy clubs, you're like, this feels like home.
Yeah, I'm like, I could just go to sleep here.
What were you like as a kid? Were you like an awkward loner? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, not so much a loner, I would say. I wasn't like a class clown, like shouting, like being bad in class. I was like good at school, fairly shy, but I would be funny around my friends, you know? I loved theater. I loved performing. I did like middle school theater camp and, high school theater, all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I had an older sister.
Did that help you in terms of getting better at like social skills or like knowing what songs to listen to and stuff like that? Or was she significantly older than you?
She's 8 years older than me.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah. So she was like, it was like almost like having like a second mom or something.
Yeah.
But she's a folk singer, and she was also into like musical theater and stuff. So we bonded over that. Like both of us were kind of like the artsy kids in our family that wanted to perform. Yeah.
But 8 years apart, like my brother's 7 years apart. So you're basically an only child for a lot of that time. Because my brother's older and we have only child syndrome, that's probably why we're in comedy, right? Like you need attention.
We love attention.
Yeah. And so how did that manifest itself when you were like in high school? Like, were you getting in trouble, or were you like drinking, or were you just doing theater stuff?
No. It was just like theater. I never had even a sip of alcohol before. Like I went to college or anything like that. I know. I was a nerd. I was lame. But I was doing theater and getting all my energy out like through that.
Yeah.
But I always knew that I wanted to be a comedian from when I was like a little kid. I always loved stand-up. I loved watching sitcoms. Like I hardly watched like cartoons when I was a kid. I would watch like Everybody Loves Raymond.
Really?
Yes.
God, that's for adults.
I know. I loved sitcoms when I was a kid.
I love sitcoms too, but not that one. Now I went back and watched all the older sitcoms from before our time, when like the 70s sitcoms were way better writing. Like,
yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore. I mean,
Those
it's
are
so
good, too.
great. And Taxi
I would watch Taxi
on Nickelodeon. Nick at Night, they would have it on.
or like the Dick Van Dyke Show. I would come home, I was like, I wasn't watching Pokemon. I was like, put on Yes Dear.
Yeah.
Put on King of Queens.
You're like a CBS. That's like CBS's is ideal demo is like 60 and old, 60 and up.
Yeah,
if you watch the commercials, they're like, "Have you thought about a reverse mortgage?" And you're like this kid. You're like, "What's a reverse mortgage?"
That was
Mom?"
on my Christmas list. It was like Pokemon cards, reverse mortgage.
Were you a night owl when you were in high school, or were you like,
Yes.
what was your nights like?
It was like, it was gaming, dude. I was into like Call of Duty. I'd
Really?
be playing that with my friends until like 2 a.m. When I was in high school, I had like there was this class in my high school that was really very difficult. U.S. history. It was like it was infamous because they gave you so much fucking work. I would be writing I remember staying up all night writing like 20-page papers for this high school class every single week.
Wow.
And I would procrastinate every single week and do it all in one night, stay up for 24 hours and write it. Like I feel like that's where it began, like my procrastination and like all-nighting kind of, yeah.
But were you just doing Call of Duty till 2 and watching TV? Or were you watching late at night? Because Raymond is on at 8, and they weren't the reruns yet.
Well, I mean, like Nick at Night, dude, or
Okay.
Adult Swim. You know what I mean? Like staying up, being like, "Is Family Guy on?" Or it's something that my parents wouldn't let me watch.
And would you did you have were you disciplined as a kid? Like, did you have like an early curfew?
No, not really. Because my parents are night owls too.
Okay.
My mom is like, she wakes up early, but she also stays up super late.
Okay.
And she always loved comedy, like SNL. Like she would have us stay up and watch Saturday Night Live.
Who were the stand-ups that you were watching? Were you watching stand-up at that time, or just SNL?
No. I was watching stand-up too. I think like Jim Gaffigan is the one that was on Comedy Central constantly when I was a kid. Became like obsessed with him. I have a picture where like, I got him to sign the Hot Pockets box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw him at a show in Baltimore like when I was like maybe like 10 or something like that. But yeah.
He's the one that got me back into comedy as well. Like interested in comedy. Before I even thought about doing comedy, I watched him on Conan, and then I watched his special on Comedy Central, I believe, and I was like, this is unbelievably funny. Like his voice and stuff. And I was just like, oh God, he's so fucking funny. And then
so good.
I remember I reached out to him on MySpace. This is how long it was. And he responded.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I looked on your page and I see that I was producing shows for music at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you think of the Vic Theater? And this is when he before he recorded his special there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's great. He's like, this is what they're offering me. What do you, and we're talking business. I'm like, okay. I like switched gears from fan. And then I remember for a while when Facebook started, we were friends on Facebook. I was like, and then he blew
Oh my
up.
God.
So that's my cool thing. I
You're
don't
his
think he knows
business
who I am.
manager. You could have been his fucking business manager.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to do when I was first doing comedy. We were talking about this last night when I was in improv. I was like friends with all the guys who are now big. I'm like, I could be your lawyer. Then I quit that to do comedy. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? But so you're watching Everybody Loves Raymond and Yes Dear. Did you get into Golden Girls too?
I had a Golden Girls era. Yeah. I was the most adult fifth grader you could imagine.
I can only imagine. And how did that translate with your friends? Were they like, they're probably all watching the stuff, there's Pokemon or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever.
Yeah. I remember trying to get like my friends into, Yes Dear and all that kind of shit.
In 5th, 6th grade?
Yeah. They weren't feeling it. They were like, why don't we just like play Halo or something? I was like, all right. I mean, I liked being like the performer one of my friend group. No one else I knew like did theater. All my friends like played sports and stuff like that.
So I always thought that like theater kids in high school at least were cliquey and they stayed together. Were you the theater kid that did the theater and then went out and hung out with the basketball players? Or
yeah, I got it. So I was
in high school, I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I was doing like this theater summer camp. And then when I would go to school, I wouldn't do theater at the school. I was on the track team, and like I would.
So you separated your lives.
I separated it. I had like this secret theater obsession or whatever. But and eventually senior year I did the play, but at school. But I was friends with like, people that did sports, and I would, I don't know why. I just like kept that part of my life separate, or maybe like I was like pretending to be more into sports than I actually was. And then once I got to college, I was like, I like musicals. I like improv. I'm going to be a star. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like, and I have a nephew who's 18 now, and I'm like, you're going to find your place. But when I was in high school, I was so obsessed with being cool, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I was in sports, and I was in the cool crowd. But in my heart, I was like, I want to do band and I want to do theater. But we made fun of those people. I was like, oh, I don't want to be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin. I was like, I always felt like I was so insecure. I was like on the cusp. I'm like, man, I can't afford to like try out for anything that's going to take away my coolness.
That's what it is. You want to like protect yourself in a way. It's like, I don't want to show what my real passion is, because then I could get hurt. You know?
And I think like I look back on those people and they're all like successful now. And like some of them aren't, but they didn't pursue it, but like they got it out of their system. I wonder if I did that, if I would be like, I don't want to do comedy. I'm just going to be a lawyer. And I probably would have been senator or president. Who knows? It all goes in circles.
Honestly, I never did a school play until like my senior year of high school. And when I finally did it, no one cared.
Yeah.
No one made fun of me. Everyone was just like, oh, wow. You're doing the play. Like, that's awesome. Like, it was fine.
And I look back to like, we never really made fun of them. It was just like a perception that only nerds do that, or gays. Like, we're like, this was the time when it was, I'm a little older than you, so like that wasn't allowed.
Right. But it's like, when I was in school, it just turned out, it was like no one cared. I think it was just like an anxiety thing for me, where it was like, if I show people that like I really want to do this, it's too important to me to be good at it. And if like it doesn't work or I'm made fun of, it's going to really hurt. So I think I was just protecting myself from that possibility.
And did you know that once you got to college, you're like, I'm going to pursue this? Like,
I was like, I have to, because every story that I hear about like comedians getting started, a lot of them were like, oh, college improv troupe, or like started doing it there, or like found people, like-minded people, like while they were in school. So I wanted to find that group. And so joined the improv team. A couple of those guys did stand up. And I wanted to get into that, so I went to an open mic in the city with them, and that was it.
In Baltimore?
Yeah, in Baltimore. Yeah.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Okay. Yeah. Never heard of it.
Yeah, small school.
Okay. What was your major?
Communications, and then I had like a minor in theater and gender and women's studies.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Overcompensating for the fact that you don't believe women are equals, like you told me last night.
I shouldn't have even mentioned it. I knew I was going to get shit for it. Yeah, man. So
were you doing that just to meet ladies?
No, it was interesting. I mean, I had like a single mom growing up, and like my sister and my mom were like big, like feminists. Like, they like instilled that in me, and so I just found it fascinating, wanted to like learn more about it.
Were you the only guy in all the classes?
A lot of the time, yeah. And it was like, what is this fucker gonna say? Like, never wanted to raise my hand or like ask any questions, being like, you're like, so is being a woman hard? Or, just like the worst person in the class.
Did you feel like an outsider? Like they'd be talking about stuff and you're like, note to self, Google vulva. Like things that you definitely didn't know about.
That would be amazing if gender and women's studies was just like about the female anatomy. It was just
I couldn't think of anything that you wouldn't know. Like, what if it was just like something like you're like, I remember I did Black studies. I did a lot of Black studies classes. I was always the only non-Black person, African American in my class. And I remember like they would be talking about stuff. I'm like, all right, I got to look up what this means. Like, because they were all from, I went to Illinois, and a lot of the people were from the south side or west side of Chicago. And I grew up in a wealthy community in the suburbs. I'm like, all right, I got to look up all of what this stuff. I don't know what this means. But they were like talk about their experiences. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have that. They were talking about gangs. I'm like, we had like J. Crew Gang or Banana Republic. Like I had no affiliation with them. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely didn't like put my experiences out there. It wasn't like being a dude is hard too, or whatever. But it was like eye-opening though, and very small classes. It was not like a popular major,
Yeah.
It was maybe like only like like literally like it'd be like 10 kids like maximum or something.
What did you do to pass time in college? Were you like partying then? Because you said you started drinking in college. Or
Yeah. That's when
did
I
you overcompensate? Or?
I definitely did.
Yeah.
I almost like died at my 21st birthday
Really?
party. Yeah, all that kind of shit. And then like after the improv shows, we would drink so much. It was, I think we were all just a bunch of nerds. Like, we can have beer now, or we can do shots.
When you turned 21.
Well, no. This, I'm prior to 21.
18, okay.
Yeah.
How were you guys getting liquor? You'd find a way.
It was like the older guys on the troupe would get it for
Okay.
us. So it was like, all grades or all 8. I guess like we had like 2 people that were over 21 on the improv troupe when I first joined, and they would just get like the cheapest like Burnett's vodka or whatever. We'd get like fucking Everclear and absinthe and go crazy.
I think that stuff that we drank in high school and college has like done permanent damage. I wonder if they do a study on that to be like, that's what the problem is. It's not vaccines. it's bad alcohol.
Dude, I can't even like get near Fireball whiskey anymore. Like if I just smell it,
That's
I
why
want
I'm
to
with
vomit.
tequila.
Yeah.
I can't do that either, but that's from Cancun spring break. So what were you guys doing late at night after the you're hanging out at the shows? Are you guys doing like yes and games or like
Zip, zap, zop.
zip zap zop at 2 a.m.
We're
at a
doing
bar?
drunk zip zap zop to each other. No, I mean we're hanging out, we're doing shots, we're like playing like board games. I mean it's just nerds getting drunk, telling each like
were there
improv.
girls in the troupe?
Yeah. There were
Okay.
girls in the troupe, and I met my wife in high school, and then we started dating in college.
Okay,
So
was she an
would,
improv too?
No, she's not a comedian. She's like the funniest person I know,
Yeah,
but she doesn't
I met
need
her.
validation from strangers. Yeah, you met her.
Yeah.
She sends her regards, by
Yeah.
the way. I keep forgetting to
That's
mention
all
that.
right. Tell her the same.
Yes, thank you.
What if I was like, I don't have any regards? Okay, so you
Don't send my regards.
what were you guys doing at night? Like, I know,
Dude,
I was a fraternity fucking bro, and I know what we did, and it was like just idiocy.
Improv, dude, like when I was on the improv troupe, I'd never been in like a community that was so supportive. Like, how improv
Yeah,
people are. Like
too supportive.
Too supportive. Like it was literally just compliment circles. Like we're all just sitting around, just like, jerking each other off emotionally. We're like, they were like, oh my God, the way that like you can like support and add to a scene, the way, oh, your character choices, the way your emotional intelligence.
Did it get too much? Were you like, stop? Did anyone ever just be like, stop this? We need to go in real. I just feel like that's like a parent that coddles their kids too much, and then they get to the real world and like.
Well, that's what was so funny. Going from that to doing stand up in Baltimore City, it was the complete opposite. It was like, shut the fuck up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. I remember one time, like one guy was graduating from the troupe, and the whole night was just everyone giving like 20-minute toasts. Like everyone took their little center stage moment, complimenting this person.
I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I did improv too, and I remember that too. And I was just like, I feel like you need to know when something doesn't go bad. We were talking about it last night. Where improv, I love improv, but when there's bad improv, it's like really bad.
Yes.
And I feel like the reason for that is no one ever gets good criticism from their peers. Like, right? Like, I don't think the only time there was one teacher at Second City who was notorious for being like mean and people reported him, but I was like, he's the best teacher I've ever had. Like, he's the only one that like helped me.
I had.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just can't. I guess some people learn that way, but
Yeah, because improv is all about like support and everything.
Yeah,
so I
right.
feel like people don't want to criticize, but I'm like you, where it's like I crave that. It's like, tell me if something's not working. I can tell it's not
I
working.
love when people tell me that.
Right. And like, I never wanted to say, because I'm just like, I feel like, am I being cynical or whatever? But at UCB, the first class I ever took there, just like a 101 improv, right before our graduation show, we did a run through and we did a little practice show in the class. And the teacher sat us down and we were all like, hell yeah, man, we're going to kill it tomorrow. That was great. And he stood up in front of us and went, that was the worst show I've ever seen. He just gave it to us. He was like, you were in too many scenes. He was like, you weren't listening at all. And he was like, if we do that tomorrow, I'm going to be absolutely embarrassed. And this is a 101 class, you know, but I appreciated it. I thought it was like, okay.
2 people probably quit the team.
Yes, people were pissed. People were like, I'm giving him bad reviews on like, you know, the questionnaire.
It's so bad. It's so insane. Like, and you think about like Del Close, who was a lunatic in the improv world. I'm sure he wasn't very kind. I heard stories about it, but look what those people created. Like, I'm sure during Tina Fey's time and Jason Sudeikis, there were no like coddling. And I know like with comedy, it's not stand up. It's not like that at all. I think early on people are nice to each other.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like a few years ago, I was like, I'm never gonna tell someone they had a good set unless they had a good set, because I feel like you're rewarding bad behavior.
Oh, see, I always say good set. I'm a people pleaser.
See, I think that's the worst thing you can do for a comedian. Because you know what? Especially at your level, because if you do it, they're going to remember, Scott told me I was funny, and he's a huge headliner. He's got a book. By that time, he'll be a bestseller. I'm just saying, like, do you understand? Like, you have to be at your level. You have to be aware of the influence you have on people.
I feel like I like to
especially
say
new
good
comics.
If it doesn't go well, the thing about comedy is we all know when it did not go well because we can hear it.
No, we don't. Some people don't.
Some people don't.
No.
I mean, I feel like if someone bombs and I go up to them and I go, good set. There's a connotation of like, hey, you tried your best. It didn't go well, but you tried.
I disagree. I think that there's a lot of lack of self-awareness a lot. We were talking about this about the Kill Tony show and yesterday, but like I think that there's a lot of people that need to hear. You need to have like a mean football coach to be like, okay, your premises were good, but what do you think happened on that punch or whatever? Like, if you really care about the person, if you don't care, I don't think saying good set is going to help, because then that guy's going to just keep doing that same joke about the anti-women stuff that you like so much. You know, that you overcompensate with the gender studies stuff.
I just hold up my degree.
What if you get canceled in 5 years for something? You're like, everyone thought he was a real nice guy, and there were hints of it. Paul called it out.
I skipped that day of class. I forgot that was bad. No, I don't know. If I'm close enough to someone, I'll give them real criticism, but like, I don't know. I guess it's because in my mind, I'm my own like worst critic, you know?
Yeah, me too.
So sometimes when someone will give me a criticism about my set or something, I almost feel like I know, like I'm already like on to that, or like I'm trying to track that myself, and then like it can be, I don't know, it's not always the most helpful to like hear from someone else. So sometimes I'll just be like, good set. I'm
my own worst critic too. And when someone tells me that and I know it wasn't good, I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, you didn't watch my set. And then another thing too, when I do have a good set, I'm trying to be better about this. And I watched you last night I wanted to be in front of stage, but I had to go back on stage. But I wanted to see how you react after a show and if you make eye contact with people after the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't get to see it last night. I know in Philly you did. Do you like, you know, smell the roses? Like after you had a good set, do you like take a second to be like, all right, I deserve this? Or do you just like run off stage like I do?
Oh, no. I take a second. I mean, I'm like, if I have a good set, I'm the most social person in the world afterwards. I want to talk to everybody. I'm doing shots at the bar or whatever, you know?
I'm talking about the moment after, not the moment before, but like right when you're done, you're like, thank you, everyone. Thanks to the staff, blah, blah, blah. Are you sitting there and like at least taking that 2 seconds to like feel that clapping and applause?
Oh, like on the stage?
On the stage,
no. I'm getting out of there as fast as possible because I'm like, I might ruin this. Like it's good. Okay. I leave on the high note, the Costanza or whatever.
Yeah. I get made fun of too because people like when I had a good set, like I like run off stage. I'm like, all right, thank you guys. I don't like last night too. The first show we did, I love that show so much, but I was so quick to get off stage. I was like, why didn't I just I just set up a great room. I didn't embrace it.
Yeah.
I was so mad at myself because I was like, that was something that could have helped. Because I had a bad day and then I had a good set, you know?
Yeah, they were great shows.
Both of them were good, yeah.
I tried to milk it for a little bit at the first one because like you were hanging back a little bit. Like you weren't like right.
You did. You said my name. I thought you were getting off stage. So like I ran there and then you did another.
Yeah, I kind of have like a little fake out ending moment. But yeah, I kind of like look around. I try to make eye contact with people so I remember them.
Yeah, that's such a good thing to do, and I think we need to do that more as comedians. But I especially do. But but I am the worst. I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah.
But when you go back and watch sets, sometimes we think one show was way better than the other, but in terms of like clapping and laughs, it's almost identical. Because it's only, my theory is that we only think it's a good set if the front row, because all we hear mostly, especially in like good rooms, is the front.
Yeah.
And if they're laughing and they're good laughers, it's like, okay, I just crushed.
Right.
But
then you go back and watch the tape, and
they're
you're like,
both the same.
What happened?
yeah, the back's not laughing at all.
I swear it went better than this.
Yeah, like I remember I was like, oh, I just want the first show. Like someone, I did a show once, and the guy who recorded, the videographer, was like, do you want both shows? I'm like, no, I just want the one. And he was like, why? I go, all right, well, give me both. And he was right. Like the second one was way better.
Yeah, it is true. Like sometimes you can't tell from the stage, like what the video is going to sound like or what the reaction really is. I mean, I've had shows where it's like, you know, a Friday late show where everyone's so tired and they're loving it, they're into it, but they're not making any noise.
Polite.
Yes, they're just
corporate gigs.
They're smiling. Yeah, the corporate gigs or whatever. And then you like after the show, everyone comes up and they're like, "Oh, that was so funny!" Like yada yada yada. And you're like, "Oh, you guys liked it. Okay,
you like me." And then let's talk about last night. We had 2 shows at the Den, amazing place in Chicago. Shout out to the Den and Ryan and the crew. The second show was much rowdier than the first show.
Yeah.
And we jinxed it because after the first show, we both were like back. It was a 2-man show. We're backstage, and I'm like, that was so. And we were both like, well, let's see what happens. And I was like, oh, we shouldn't have. And they were great. The second show was great, but there was a lot of drunkenness. It was a late show.
It was the good rowdy where they wanted to be a part of it. They enjoyed it so much they wanted to be involved. It wasn't like you suck or shut the fuck up.
They were all there for you.
Yes, they were like, we want to be in the show with you. And so that's the kind of rowdy that I can get with.
Yeah.
And sometimes I enjoy that, especially at a late show where it's like you've already had this like great show where you do your material.
Right.
And then you can kind of play around.
The second one was just fun. You don't have an agenda where you have to work shit out.
Right.
Like you were, and it was you had to act to play. I feel like you had to be a conductor last night because there were pockets of crowds, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna placate you for a second, and then I got to deal with this guy. And you did a great job of doing it. And they were like looking at me because they're like, what do you think? I go, I think he's handling it. Yeah. But they sent someone there to tell that one dude to shut up.
Yeah, they sent someone over there,
and he got better. But
he got better, yeah. But he was just, it was all about just like it's like airbending or like feng shui, where it's like you take the energy and you just kind of rearrange it so you're in control of it, And then we had 4 pockets of people kind of like going a little crazy, but they were funny. Sometimes it led to like some really funny crowd moments.
And you did a good job of shutting it down. I think when I got off stage, I shut the guy down that I thought was going to be a problem, and then I reiterated. I didn't have to ever say that before, but I felt like a host. Like, all right, guys, just remember, unless Scott talks to you, don't talk to him.
Right.
Right before I brought you up, and then.
Yes. So you go, because I wasn't expecting you to do it, because I do like crowd work and stuff. Right. But you go, don't talk to Scott unless he talks to you. And then, great. You kind of eased out of it, got them back clapping. Here he is, your headliner. I come out, I put my water bottle down. Before I even say anything, the guy goes, so you like Fiji water, huh?
It was the most weird, like...
Just immediately talking to me about Fiji water. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
It was the same guy that I was like, just shut the fuck up. And it was like such a weird... I just saw you be like, what? Like, who says that?
But the crowd, but it was a funny moment because it was like... Everyone was on the same page of like, what are you talking about, man? Like, we're not going to talk it for an hour about what Fiji water, or like, what am I drinking? And then that's where like the music I have comes into play.
Oh, it's so fucking
or
brilliant.
I can use the music from the videos to kind of like bring them back to my world, basically.
Yeah. Shut it down. Make a comment. And then you got that to like, you play it and it's like, okay, you
drowns
can't even
them out.
Drowns him out. Exactly. It's so perfect. A show like last night, after the show, what are you doing? Are you doing what we did, which is go get food and just because it takes you a while to come down, I assume, after a show.
Yeah. I'm on like a high afterwards. I go out. I like normally do like a little meet and greet or talk to people after the show, take photos or whatever. Then it's like going to get food, watching something at the hotel, whatever it is. Sometimes I'll go out to like a bar, have a drink.
are you with your wife sometimes, or was that like a rare thing?
No, sometimes I'm with my wife. Yeah.
If it's a cool city,
Doing like if I'm doing like a full weekend somewhere, she'll come with, you know.
That's different than like you don't experience the lonely
Yes.
comedian life where you're at a hotel like, okay, I'll just watch Shawshank Redemption again. TBS.
Just watching YouTube
No,
on my phone.
are you going when you're going on the road, are you experiencing the cities now? Are you like going to like the tourist attractions during the day or at night? What are you doing?
Sometimes I try to, but I'm like such an introvert. Sometimes I feel like I need to conserve all my energy to
For the
like
shows.
have it like explode at the shows. Like I normally won't do any like touristy stuff. Very rarely. Like I was in San Francisco, I went to see like Alcatraz Island. That
That's
was
the
like
most touristy thing you can do.
That was
Okay.
like a rare moment for me. I was like, I'm really getting myself out there.
Yeah.
Going to Alcatraz.
And what about it? Like, so let's talk about the after night. If your wife is in with you, are you going straight to the hotel, or you said you're going to bars? Are you going out with fans ever?
Sometimes.
I feel like that's a bad idea at your level.
I know. Well, yeah. Sometimes I'll do it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Unless you have like a buffer, unless your opener is with you. I could do
That's
that
the
for
thing.
you. I could
That's
be
the
like your
thing.
lawyer, have like code words.
I'll normally only do it if it's like the club, like someone that works at the club is going,
okay.
you know, or like like one of the openers is
Right.
going out too. That's the only time I'll do that. Otherwise, maybe I'll normally just like hang out at the bar like with the staff or something and get a
Okay.
drink. And then it's like just right back to the hotel.
When are you writing? Are you writing at night after shows? Are you creative at that time frame or no?
Not after shows. I'm normally just like completely done. You know, I don't want to like try to work on anything immediately. But I will like if I'm not doing a show, I'll write in the evenings. And
Okay.
then, you know.
When is your most productive time then, where you're not doing shows? Or
Probably like 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., something like that.
right?
You know?
It's the best time. When I don't have a show, that's like the best time to like.
Yeah.
So what's your schedule now? Is your wife on the same schedule as you?
Yeah.
Okay. So is she a night owl by trade? Are you still
Yeah.
a night owl?
Yeah, I'm still a night owl.
Okay.
I know. I heard like Brian Regan say this like a long time ago when I was a kid or something, where he was like, "I have to be a comedian because I can't wake up before 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
or whatever." And it's like, yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, you had jobs where you had to wake up before that.
Yes, and it was brutal.
Right. That was the one good thing about the thing I hated the most about being a lawyer was waking up early.
Yeah.
Like if going to court wasn't at 9 a.m., I always say like I'd probably still be a lawyer. Like I just can't. And even or in college, I wouldn't take classes unless they were like I was like, oh wow, this sounds like an amazing class. Too bad it's at 9:30. I'm not taking it.
When I was at IKEA, I had to get there at 10:30, and I was late every single day. I lived 5 minutes away. I would wake up at like 10:25.
Just rush
and
over.
just immediately run to the car, like wake up, like dry shampoo in the hair or whatever, and then just run to work. And they had like a thing where it was like if you were 5 minutes late, that was okay. So I clocked in every single day at 10:35. Yeah.
You're like, don't tell us that.
Yeah.
It's like, do you feel like you miss out on anything because you're a night owl? Like, are there things like, oh, fuck. Like for me, the biggest thing was when McDonald's had breakfast, I never can make it by
Yes.
10:30. And then it
Yes.
was 24 hours and they take it away. Like, did you ever have some?
Why did they take away the 24 hours breakfast?
We just talked about that on the first episode of this. Like, I think it was COVID. They changed everything.
Damn it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, farmers markets. Anytime
Yeah.
someone invites me to a farmer's market, I'm like, I can't. I'm so sorry.
That's so funny you said that. My bucket list was to go to the farmer's market. It's literally down the street from me.
Yeah.
I've lived here for 20 fucking years. I've never gone to that farmer's market. And it ends at 12 on a Saturday and I still can't walk a block and a half to go.
It's like I would love to go and get some microgreens.
It's not that I went to one in Florida. I was like, because someone knew that it was my bucket list item, and she took me to it. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't that great. Like I have much better bucket list items than a fucking. But I still that's the one thing.
I just don't know why everything has to be so early in the morning. Like even like crabbing, like in Baltimore, like my wife's family, they go
Crabbers.
crabbing. Yeah, they're crabbers, and it'll be like, okay, well, do you want to go crabbing? It's like, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, we have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. Like, why?
What is crabbing exact? Just grabbing crabs?
Yeah, so you got like a whole bunch of crab traps. You got like metal cages.
Yeah.
Maybe get like 20 of them, and you drive your boat out and just keep dumping them like every couple of feet, and then you turn the boat around.
Dumping
the cages in.
Okay,
and you put like raw chicken in there, like chicken necks
grab it, you
or
take
something.
'em.
Yeah. So you throw the cage in, and then you drive the boat all the way out, turn it around, and then it's like real quick, like you're pulling up the cages, any crabs in, throw it back in, pulling it up. And
Oh
it'd be
wow,
like,
it's like fishing.
yeah, it's like fishing. And you pull up the cage, it's like 4 crabs fighting over a chicken neck, and you dump them into the boat real quick. It's fun.
At 4:30 in the morning though.
At 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I remember we did a bachelor party and everyone's like, we're going to go on this fishing trip. And I was like, I'll just sleep in. That's a one night I want to sleep in. And I'm glad I went, but I was so tired. It was like at 7 a.m. in Colombia. I was like, this is Colombia, the country. I was like, this is horrible.
Oh, Jesus.
But there are a lot of things in the morning I always wish I could do. But the bigger thing, what about at nights when you're on the road and you're hungry? Like last night we got lucky because we're in a big city, but when you're doing smaller cities, like how are you addressing the fact that do you eat after your shows too? Is that normal? That's what I am like.
Normally, honestly, it's just like I order food from the club,
Okay,
and then I'll eat it when it's stone cold, fucking cold. When it's completely frozen in the hotel, just eating a chicken tender that's like
it's so and traditionally clubs don't have the best food. Some of them do, but. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, you're hungry and it's like 10:30 and there's nothing open in Iowa?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I mean,
I'm asking because I need to know because I'm going to be there. No.
Normally it's like, oh, here's a Cliff Bar from my last road trip in my backpack in the bottom of my.
I can't.
Just eating trash that I find in my bags. I mean, 24-hour diners are great.
Yeah.
We went to the Golden Apple last night. That's always amazing.
Shout out to Golden Apple.
Normally you can find like a 24-hour McDonald's or something around.
McDonald's is the only thing. Applebee's are surprisingly open late on the road, I've learned, in smaller towns. But I remember I was at a show and they're like, nothing's open. You got to go 30 miles out. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck this. So if you're on the road by yourself, do you ever do anything that's like productive? Like, are you shooting out emails? Because you have management and booking, so you don't really have to do a lot of stuff there.
No, normally I just kind of like focus in on the shows. I mean, sometimes if I've done like auditions before, like while I'm out on the road. Like I was in Vermont.
Self tapes.
Yeah, self tapes.
Oh man.
But yeah, I've had to do self tapes on the road before.
Nice.
So you explore when you go on the road?
Sometimes,
you do touristy stuff?
I try to. Like my big thing is baseball fields, so I try to go to all the baseball fields in the towns. I'll go to like what people say to do, just so I can. Worst case scenario, it's like content.
Exactly. You can reference it on stage.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm itching to find something to just talk about when I first go up on stage.
I'm trying to be better about that.
Yeah.
Especially like this tour that I've been doing, because I'm going to some cool cities and even the cities that I've never heard. Like I'm like, okay, I've never been to Greensboro, North Carolina, but I'm going to check it out and see what their biggest thing is.
But you just got to find like the neighborhood like bar or like some restaurant that they love in that town. And
I always like to find the food. Yeah.
Yes, and you bring it up on stage and everyone goes,
yeah.
It's like this huge reaction. Like in Rochester, everyone was like, what's it called? They were like, you got to have a garbage plate. You ever heard of a garbage plate? Mm-mm. It's just
Rochester, New York?
Rochester, New York. It's just like a bunch of fucking greasy food piled on top of each other. And then
sounds delightful.
I know, yeah. Everyone was like, you gotta have a garbage plate. And then, I never even had one. I watched someone else eat it and I was like, that looks horrible. I was like, this looks like an app. You have to dedicate a whole day to processing this through your system. But I just mentioned it on stage. I was like, everyone wants me to have a garbage plate. Fucking, 30-second applause break.
Yeah. I was in Dyersville, Iowa, and the Field of Dreams was there. And I'm a huge baseball fan. So I got done with the show. I'm like, can I just go at night? And the lady who runs the place was like, yeah, you can go. She goes, there's no security. You can just go walk on the field. I'm like, really? And I go, okay. And she was head of the town. I was like, all right. Yeah. So I went, and there was signs that were like cameras everywhere. I was like, she fucking lied. Well, we went overtime. I kept you too long, Scott. I apologize. But your book coming out called The Customer's Always Wrong.
Yes, The Customer's Always Wrong comes out September 10th.
They can pre-order it on Amazon, though, right now. You can
pre-order it right now, anywhere books are sold. And then scottseiss.com for, stand-up shows and anything else.
Anything else coming up in the works? The book took up all your energy?
Book was there. You can watch Shortcomings on Netflix. It's an indie movie I'm in, directed by Randall Park. Yeah.
Randall Park?
Yeah.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's great. He's
great improv guy. What? It's on Netflix.
Yeah. It's like
Okay,
this
cool.
indie rom-com. I play. Yeah. I'm like a dumbass friend of the main guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He works in like a movie theater, and I'm like one of the idiots that his coworker.
Did you do a lot of improv?
It was a lot of improv. There's actually like a whole scene in there that I got to do that wasn't in the script.
Well, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching or listening to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Now go to sleep.